Okay, we're live. It's 8:30, and let's see who joins us. So I'm Sabrina, and we are waiting for Narelle to join. So if you've just tuned in, we're going to be talking about how to practice self-compassion with Narelle Kheng. So she's going to be coming in soon. So Narelle is a really prominent young singer and actress in Singapore, and we are really excited to be speaking with her today. And yeah, so I hope everyone is feeling good at home. How are you all doing? Feel free to leave your comment in the in the box below. You can also ask a question later when whenever you have a question, and we will do our best to ask these questions as well. I'll be moderating the session with Narelle, and yeah, so yes, feel free to wave, say hi on the bottom, um, and we will get started soon. It's really nice to see some familiar faces, familiar Instagram handles as well. I'm really, really excited today to be sharing the space with Narelle, who will be joining us soon, very, very soon. So if you don't know Narelle already, she's she's a great singer. Oh, and here she is. She was also part of the Sam Willows, and she is going to be joining us today to talk about self-compassion. So yeah. Okay, hang on. Thank you for joining us, everyone. Hey!
Hi! Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, how are you?
I am
Thank you
good.
for
My laptop. Sorry, that was very suddenly very dramatic. And
It's
here I am
okay.
being like, I'm trying to like get all peaceful and okay.
It's
Hi.
okay. It takes a bit of time to like transition. It's fine.
It really does.
It does.
Hello.
It does. Okay, breathe. I'm also really excited. I'm just like, yeah, I'm trying not to like knock over things.
Yeah.
I also have like my tea in front of me, and if I do like
Oh,
that, it will just like fall. So
oh my God, that's a great idea. I should have totally got some tea. I
if
do
you
have
want to
like
get
a
tea,
little incense burning
oh,
just to set the mood.
I
No,
know
I'm
that.
good, don't worry.
Okay, okay, cool. Let me. Oh, was that you or me? It's me. So
That's
I
you.
had some
High five.
coffee. Yeah, so if you're just tuning in, so I'm Sabrina from Calm Collective. We are basically a community for mental health in Asia. So we're based in Singapore, we are in Singapore, we're Singaporean, two Singaporeans and a PR who is pretty much Singaporean, doing this project. So we are really in the um, space of normalizing the talk surrounding mental health.
How
And we're
long has
yeah.
Calm Collective been around?
Oh, so we've only been around since the COVID lockdown. So we literally started um, in April. So now it's only
Nice.
June, right? So yeah, it's really been quite a ride since we started the whole project, and it's been really nice to have quite a bit of support, and having you join our
Of
chat
course.
today as well.
Mhm.
It's been really encouraging.
It's really, really nice to hear that like a lot of people are starting to come on and not being so afraid to talk about it. Like every time I receive anything about mental health, I'm like, yes, I'll do it no matter what. Like I'm on board.
It's so good. It's so good. So, yeah, I mean, I saw that you've shared your story, and you've also, um, you know, been part of the SOS campaign as well, right?
Yeah,
So it's been really good to see that there's been more and more support and more initiatives coming up. And
100%.
we can get more into that in a bit. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And
for
I
the rest,
and I just want to thank
yeah,
everybody for being on today, for like taking some time
yeah.
out of your day to join us. I have some friends here. Hi, Sai.
So
Hi,
say.
Isaac. I love it. I love it when my friends are around. It makes me feel so much better. Even when I'm playing a gig, I'm always like looking out for them in the crowd. And also just so thankful to know that I have like friends. I mean, your community is so important, and like all my friends, they're on the same page, right? Like we all freely talk about our feelings. There's no barriers or like no kind of judgment that comes from them. And that really makes such a difference in your life. And I'm so grateful to have that. And then I guess for you, probably the same thing. It's about learning how to expand that circle around you. Sometimes when I think about mental health, I think about, it's going to sound so lame, but Kristen Stewart from Twilight. Did you watch Twilight?
Yes, I did. I'm
Okay.
like ashamed to say I did, but
I
I
know,
did.
right? But why are we ashamed? So I read
No,
the books and I was like pretty obsessed with the books growing up. But she has this superpower where she can like, because you know they can't read her thoughts, and then at the end of the book she like projects it out and protects the people around her. And I think like mental health kind of like revolves around the same
mm,
tone.
wow.
I don't know. It's a weird ass analogy,
Kind
but
of, kind of, because like you need to have that. I think you have to have that kind of empathy and that developed sense of what of your emotions and everything, right?
yes,
Yeah, and in the journey to like practice self-compassion, I think that's part of it.
100%.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe like to get started, maybe you can share a bit more about share more about your own background or your own mental health story, just to like set the context.
Sure.
Maybe if there's anyone who doesn't know yet about it, you can share a bit more.
Sorry, I'm just like reading the comments and being like, "Hi, friends."
Now feel free to say hi to your friends as well.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, Sam. um. So
Yeah.
yeah, thanks for asking. I mean, we were chatting a little bit about this just now, and it's so strange because I think the thing about mental health is that we've not all been aware that it was a thing that we had to think about for a long time, right? You just think emotions are like, okay, you can't control them when they happen, and you just have to go with whatever happens, or two, we try and suppress them. So for me personally, with mental health, like having the vocabulary to even understand that I wasn't feeling great only happened in like the last 2 or 3 years. And even at that point, like, I mean, I know it's trigger warning, I'm going to talk about this super flippantly, but suicide, because it's such an internalized emotion for me. Um, and I don't want to sidestep around it. I don't want to be like, let's not say these things, because I mean, if you have those thoughts, you have those thoughts, you know? And I had them since I was 7, all the way when I was growing up. And even when you think about being suicidal, and even though I had those thoughts, I would tell myself, you're faking, you're lying, you're asking for attention, because these are the narratives that we hear online. And also, like, I always think that there's someone worse off than I am. Yeah, okay, I might think about killing myself, but I'm like, oh, but I'm not that bad. It's not that bad. And because I would not listen to myself when my body was clearly telling me that, hey, girl, something's wrong, like go check it out. And I was ignoring those emotions and pushing it down, all under this guise of like, you're weak, you got to be stronger. Everybody feels this way. I thought everybody felt tired. I thought everybody felt depressed. And I thought when people were like energetically running around in school and making friends, I thought they were just trying harder than I was, you know?
Yeah.
So really, it was just randomly one day where I just decided to give myself the attention and to say, okay, like, it's okay if you have these thoughts, and accept it. Like,
Yeah.
and that was kind of a weird journey. Like for me, I did go get diagnosed medically, because I think for a lot of us it's like you really just don't know where the line is. When are you just sad, and when are you like depressed? And I think
Yeah.
we've like made it up to be such like this. When you talk about depression, it's like, oh, it's this huge thing, like um it's a sickness, you're unwell. Okay, I mean, yes, I love that narrative, but at the same time, I think overhyping that sometimes is also not very healthy, because there's also still research being done where once we thought that like it's chemical imbalances in the brain, now a lot of people, I mean, certain aspects of depression and mental health is known to be a behavioral defense.
Yeah.
So if it's a behavioral defense, that's why you have cognitive behavioral therapy.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that you can actually treat without medication, Whereas
Yeah.
like, so then you have people falling into the whole narrative of like, I'm sick, I just need to keep taking medication over and over again, and who are not really trying to do the work to help themselves get better. So I know I'm jumping through quite a few
No,
topics.
it's totally okay. That's
I,
like lots of things that we talk about, and that's
yeah,
one of many. It's one of many.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, just to sidetrack for a bit, like if you guys have
Yeah.
questions, I see one.
Yes, yes.
Please put them in.
Yeah.
Feel free to jump in at any time. If you're okay that we like just traverse it
Yeah, yeah,
organically, that'll be
yeah,
great. So,
yeah.
okay, coming back to
Don't
my
worry, go
story,
back. Yeah.
um, I didn't dare to go get diagnosed. I refused to
Mm.
accept it, even though it was clearly tearing apart my relationships personally, and even like in the band or my friends, like
Mm.
always, I was always throwing a tantrum. I was so angry. I was like so agitated. Sometimes really the basic wiki how-tos, like 7 signs that you are depressed.
Yeah.
Listen to it. If you check off all
Mm.
7 boxes, pay attention to yourself. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean that you're sick. It doesn't mean that you're like crazy. It just means you could be happier in your life
Yeah.
and you could take more control over making yourself feel better. So I went, I got dragged to the doctor
Mm.
by one
Mm-hmm.
of my exes.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and and I really
Was it
appreciate,
a psychiatrist
yeah,
or yeah?
psychiatrists.
Okay.
Because one, I mean, honestly, it's damn expensive
Yeah.
in
I
Singapore.
know.
Like,
It's I know. Yeah. It's
I went for one.
yeah.
It's something that we need to work on. We need to make it more accessible. Like, we need to make
Mm-hmm.
therapists more accessible, medication more
Mm.
accessible, and
Mm.
that is the journey. But yeah, okay. For me, peace of mind. I went, and when
Mm.
the guy, okay, I tell you, if you all wanted to go to a session, let me just tell you what it's like, so you don't have to waste your money. Okay, so this guy comes there, and then he's like a pretty nerdy doctor, and then he'll be like, "Are you easily irritable?" Yes, check. Do you have trouble sleeping? Okay, check. Does
Whoa.
your appetite change? Okay, check. Then he'll say, "Okay, you are clinically depressed." And I'm like, I knew
Oh
that.
no. But how did you
But
how did you find this guy? Like how did your ex find this person?
I think he just Googled like
Ah,
psychiatrist and then
right.
just called the first one and made an appointment because it
Mm.
doesn't matter. But the one
Mm-hmm.
thing that I did take away from that was that I did learn that I had this thing called double depression. So,
Hmm.
yeah, so like depression is bouts. So, okay, I'm going to draw a graph,
Mm-hmm.
like that, then,
Mm.
like that, that's depression,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And so, let's say this is the average like happiness level of people.
Sure.
So, dysthymia means naturally you're already
Uh,
here. And when you have
okay.
depression, you go even lower and you
Right.
never really come back on top.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding that was really helpful for me in knowing that, okay, because some people say, oh, depression only lasts 2 weeks to 6 months. But I'm like,
Yeah.
I've been depressed my whole life, you know? So at least I knew that, hey, you can be happier in these
Mm-hmm.
circumstances. You can be happier in life. Maybe it's time to take a look at your everyday actions to
Yeah.
figure out. So after I got diagnosed, I kind of tunneled even further because
Mm.
I was like, well, see, this is what the world did to me. Like, I'm depressed, so I
Yeah.
don't effing
Yeah.
care. Like, I'm going to like just stay in bed all day and I'm going to be
Yeah.
mad
Yeah.
because the world is unfair. You're unfair and you did this shit
Yeah.
to me,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Why do I
And
have to have this, right?
yeah, because I think
Mm.
sometimes, I mean, I don't know how you guys out there feel, but what hurts me so badly being depressed is like looking at people around you be so normal. They're so normal and they
Mm.
just don't get
Mm.
affected by the things that you do. You know, they're out there with so much energy and they're running through life. And I always, when
Yeah.
I'm depressed, I just feel like I'm just not enough. Like I'm just
Mm.
never, no matter how hard I try, it's just not good enough. So
Yeah.
obviously there's these feelings of anger and hurt and those just made me tunnel and tunnel and dig
Yeah.
and dig and dig and self-sabotage, which is also a I mean, no matter how you self-sabotage, you know, some is like alcohol, some hurt
Yeah.
themselves. For me, like I literally tear up the opportunities in my life. Like if I had a
Mm.
career opportunity, I would drive that to the ground so that I mess it up first. So nobody could mess it up for me.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And it really took me, I don't know, like 2 years of tearing my life into just trash for me to
Yeah.
sit there and be like, okay, you fucked it up for
Yeah.
yourself. Like
Yeah.
the
Oh
only thing you
man.
can do right now
Yeah.
is like fix it. And
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
terrifying. It is
Yeah.
terrifying to be at that point where you see all the things that you messed up and to have
Mm-hmm.
to find the strength to forgive yourself
Yeah.
and then rework all
Yeah.
these old habits and learn to pull yourself back up. But that's also why I have so much heart for anybody that suffers with from depression or anxiety
Mm.
or anyone that just is in this journey with us, anyone that
Yeah.
relates, anyone that empathizes, because You know, I mean, that's what I find. Like every time I meet a friend that like also shares this, immediately you realize they have empathy.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to be so thankful for this thing called
Mm.
depression because I
Mm.
really thought that it made me care. It made me care for the people that were hurting when other people kind of just like,
Yeah.
oh, they're sad, oh, so sad. Then they just go on with their lives. And I'm like, no, don't care for them.
Mm.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's why I just love it. I love everybody
Yeah.
that is watching right now and who gives a shit to
Yeah.
stay on this. I'm
Yep.
so thankful that you guys are
Yes.
doing that. Because if we are not the ones to help the people like us, like really,
Exactly.
other people won't. Like, don't expect other
Yeah.
people to come in and save your ass. Like, we gotta do it ourselves,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
right? Yeah.
especially in the society, right? Especially in this context that we have, it's such a taboo to even have a mental illness or to face something, a mental health
Yeah.
challenge, right? So
Yeah. And
so yeah, I mean, like it's even more important for us to like take that step to help ourselves. But at the end of the day, you know, we really want to be able to have a more open society that's able to talk about these things.
that would be
So
so ideal, right? It's like
yeah,
I don't know. I
yeah,
mean, my friends and I, we have this conversation all the time about whether,
mm,
like, in a way, it's quite liberal, right, to talk about mental health, whether a
yeah,
liberal society is possible, because you always have this battle between right wing and left wing,
yeah.
and there will always be the people that are capitalists and Trump supporters. They
Mm.
will always exist, and often, like, just knowing that just gets me so down because like we can't win this big battle. Like that's what
Mhm.
existential crisis feel like, right? It's like you're like, I
Mm.
can't win this big battle called like empathy or like
What
this.
is this life?
Yeah.
Why do we have life? Why life? You know,
But then
especially when you're going through all of that. Yeah.
yeah, but
Mm.
then I guess really the answers are just like in this, in
Yeah.
whatever conversation you can have, whatever relationships are great in your life, like hold on to that and
100%.
be good. Okay, I saw a question that I wanted
Sure,
to
sure.
answer. Wait, there was. Okay, so the first one is, can you give advice to young girls struggling with
Yeah.
body image issues and cyberbullying? Whew. Okay,
Shall we go back to that later?
do you want? Oh, you want to do that later
It's a
instead?
heavy one. Yeah, I think that
Okay,
one. Maybe we can start light on, you know, about like on like self-compassion and like I want to know how you managed to pick yourself up actually, like from that, you know, low that
okay.
you went through.
We, okay, we do have a question that
Yeah,
is also
sure.
similar. It says, what if
Yeah.
I just can't find self-worth?
Mm.
That is real. Okay,
Mm.
so
Mm.
I think that the two questions are aligned.
Yeah.
From my own experience, in the end of the day, the fact that we are still here means that there's a little bit of fight in you. You know, even if you were suicidal, the fact that you're not dead right now means that
Yeah.
there's something in you that says, maybe tomorrow will be better. Maybe I can make it better. And so the first step is wanting to get better. You really have to believe that there's this fire inside somewhere hidden in you, and you have to put all your faith and hope into that one spark and like just keep fanning it so it burns. And
Mm.
it's so exhausting because you will end up like, yeah, I'll be like, okay, let's say today I have no self-worth and I find something small, like I got to spend time with my dog, and like, oh, that's
Yeah.
great, you
Yeah.
know. But then I go out into the world and I see again everybody just like towering and doing all these things, and then I shrink up, and then my self-worth get torn apart. Or I see people, you know, if you're talking
Mm.
about like body image, then you see people that look better than you or selling
Sure.
images that are like perfect or whatever. Yeah, so have the hope in yourself.
Mm.
And for me, it was kind of almost like a internal death,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because I had tunneled so low, and there was one time where I was really feeling very, very suicidal.
Yeah.
And I told myself, okay, you're dead. Like, because, okay, I always had this thing where I was like, okay, three, two, one, and then nothing happens, right? Because you don't dare to like jump or whatever. Um, and for a long time, I wished that I had the courage to go through with suicide. And then in the end, I would think like, oh, you are weak for not being able to do it. So one day I was like, okay, hypothetically, three, two, one, I'm dead.
Mm.
What now? Right? All the stress is gone. My issues, you know, like whether it's body issue, self-worth, they don't exist because I don't exist. And in that moment, I felt like this
Mm.
relief, like this all these burdens just like were taken off me. And I realized that in that moment, everything I have from now on is a blessing because I had already died, And I think that feeling of like entrapment is pretty intense for a lot of us sometimes. We get entrapped by all these societal expectations or expectations of ourselves, which is actually the bigger killer. Um, sorry, I'm very long-winded.
No,
but
it's
but
okay.
long
It's a
but
space
long story
for,
short,
yeah,
yeah,
to talk,
it's this
It's
idea of like
okay.
that internal death was me letting go of a lot
Mm.
of these like terrible things and guilt. Like every time I had a tantrum or I had a breakdown, I would feel so guilty about it. And when I died in that point, I just let it go. And
Yeah.
it was this acknowledgement of one, I'm going to work for it, and two, even though it seems like an uphill battle, like in 7 years, nobody will remember this. I would barely even remember this because 7 years is basically the time it takes for every cell in your body to regenerate. So it's in a sense, I like these floopy things because they make me feel better. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
in 7 years, I'm gonna be a new person, and
Yeah.
all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my head down and dream about who I want to be in 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
And all these little things are very helpful. If you don't have self-worth, then you need to really figure out the things that you love about yourself. I know that sounds like so wild, but truthfully, there is something amazing in each of us, whether it's the fact that you're gentle or you're kind or you care about people, or maybe you have like an incredible imagination or like you're really good at stitching, you know? And and the reason why we feel like we're not enough is because this society is not always built for everyone. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a society built for artists. Artists are depressed
Yeah.
because we don't find like we have space to be ourselves. We always have to conform in some way, and people are telling us that we're not essential all the damn time. I mean, like, that doesn't even surprise me because I'm like, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
expect
Yeah.
anything
No.
more.
Yeah. Sadly,
Yeah,
but yeah.
but but
Mm.
hope that life can be what we can make it.
Mm.
So for me, in a strange way, it's tiny housing. I don't know why I love tiny houses and van life,
Mm-hmm.
but that pulled me out because it made me realize like, okay, I didn't have to climb this corporate ladder of owning a condo or like having a lot of money to send my kids to the best schools.
Mm-hmm.
If somehow, at the end of the day, instead of dying, I could just like
Mm.
hop into a van and disappear and live life exactly the way I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I had that hope of this world, I could
Yeah.
think, okay, what would actually make me happy there? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I have this love-hate relationship with social media, and I do love it because it gives me a
Mm.
platform. But at the same time, it's like what really makes me happy is like I want to go in a van and I just want to meditate and I want to paint for no reason and not to show off, not so people will praise you, not so you can sell your work. And I just want to like read, and
Yeah. Yeah.
whether I actually do that or not doesn't really matter because it's the hope that I have. And me sometimes meditating or before I sleep, I would just like pretend I'm in the van and where everything would be and where I would
That's
go,
lovely. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would feel like, okay, who am I in that situation? You
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
I'm someone who takes time to like care for my plants. Like
Yeah.
not just like, oh, just water. I'm like, what do you
Yeah.
need? Do you need extra water today? Can I cut some of your leaves? Can I prune it?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's these little connections that give you purpose
Yeah.
in life.
Yeah.
And in order for you to figure that out, it's just really a journey that you have to take. You watch videos, you journal, you be hyper
Mm.
aware of your thoughts, you know? Like,
Yeah.
what are you thinking about right now? Are you thinking
Yeah.
about how, whether it's okay to live an alternative lifestyle? Are you
Yeah.
thinking, like, as I'm talking about this, are stresses of work and school coming in? Are you beating yourself down right now
Mm-hmm.
in your
Yeah.
head? Are you doing that subconsciously somewhere? Like, because there is this voice in the back of
Yeah.
your head that is
There
like,
is. You have a
that will tell you,
self-critic that's so noisy, right?
yeah,
How
so.
do you turn it off?
But
Yeah.
I think it's not about turning it off. It's about
Yeah.
tuning in,
Yes.
listening to what they say. Because
Mm-hmm.
my therapist taught me this is that everything is there for a reason, you know.
Mm.
So your depreciating thoughts are telling you something. So
Mm-hmm.
let's say it says you're not pretty enough, right? Then you're
Yeah.
feeling insecure. Then you have to
Mm-hmm.
question, why is it that I feel like I need to look a certain way? Who's making me
Yeah.
feel like I need to look a certain way? Is there anything else I can find in my life that would value? And do I actually feel happy from looking good?
Yeah.
Or is
Yeah.
something else making me happy? And
Yeah.
there are all these like interweb of roots and thoughts that
Yeah.
go on behind that one thought. But
Yeah.
the thing is that most of the time we don't dare to face that thought. If I had a thought
Mm.
that says I'm not pretty, enough, it might, one, either make me ignore it, or two, I would just like distract or escape from it.
Exactly.
But sometimes having the courage to just sit there and face these things that make you feel bad. Yeah, that's what it takes.
Oh,
Okay,
100%.
yeah.
You know, there's
Please
a
talk
lot
for a while.
yeah. No, I'm happy. I'm just like taking in everything you've said because but from what I hear, right, you have done a lot of things to kind of like, you know, treat yourself better, especially since, you know, you've come out of, not really come out of depression, but like you've learned how to manage it a lot better.
Yeah.
You know, it's you know, I understand, like, you know, it's something that never really fully goes away, but it's something that you learn how to live with better, how you learn how to manage it a lot better.
And
So
listen to
and listen and kind of like, yeah, as you said, tune into that, just being there and being with it, right? So I heard that you mentioned like meditation, you mentioned journaling. Do you have like a day-to-day routine that you, I don't know, how do you tune into your thoughts each day or each week?
Ooh. Okay, so I recognize that I'm quite flaky, so sometimes a schedule doesn't work for me. But I know when I don't meditate for a long time that I am being lost in noise. So I have this habit of not being able to have silence. So I always have a TV show playing all the way until I fall asleep and it's still on. In the morning I wake up, I will turn on either music or some kind of sound. And when I consistently, actively avoid meditation, that's where I know something's wrong. I'm running
Yeah.
away from myself. Okay, but to answer your question, I have multiple. Okay, so
Sure.
I
Shoot.
I recently, okay, maybe I should show you. Like
Yeah.
I started doing like a bullet journal.
Ooh,
So over
okay.
here I have like a habit tracker. Can you
Yes.
see?
Yes.
So then I will have like meditation, yoga, so like then I have my other habits like singing, skateboarding, reading, and stuff like that. So I will try and fill it in every time I do, and when I don't, and I can see how
Yeah.
long I have not done it, and then I want to go back. So one is I try and meditate as much as I can. I use this app called Insight Timer, which I really like.
Okay.
It's my
Yeah.
favorite meditation
And
app.
I use it as well. Cool.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really good
Yeah.
because there's a lot of guided meditation on it as well as like free meditation, and there's like stuff for anxiety, stuff for self-confidence, just a whole range. So go check it out.
Yeah.
It's free. You can pay for it. I paid for it, but it is also there's a lot in the free app.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I journal on my laptop, and I do this. It's always open. Like my pages is always open. So anytime I just want to type something, I'll type it in. And I use different fonts to kind of. So if I'm feeling like crap, I use one font. If I'm feeling great, I use one font. If I'm feeling like
Okay.
waxing lyrical, I'll use like a typography font, like do a little poem or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Cool.
But that's nice to like go back to because then I can track all the way back to when I started it. And the reason why I started it was because my memory was terrible, and I really just wanted to be hyper aware of all the thoughts that was going on in my head.
Yeah.
So I do that as well. Then also on, I don't write on paper, but on my iPad I have another like collection where those are just like free running thoughts and things that I try to play with. Like recently I saw my friend's Insta story. She's been like manifesting, which is quite, that was a bit floopy, but like it's this idea of like writing as though you've already done something. So what I
Okay.
wrote in it was
Yeah.
like, I'm so happy. I can't believe I'm so happy with my relationships. I can't believe I have a home that I love and I have created for myself and a safe space. I'm so happy that I'm flowing creatively and I'm incredibly proud of the work that I've created, you know? So and I would write on this, just
Yeah.
vomiting really like this positive energy on this space. And the more you write, the more you force yourself to imagine what it feels like.
Yeah.
And yeah. And then also I have a mood calendar, which I think some of my friends would know. It's basically, okay, I see if I can.
Sure.
Can you see that?
The calendar?
This,
That.
yeah.
Yes.
So that was something that I started doing like last year, where I would color in a color for each mood that I felt, and it would be fun because like for me pink is great. So if like I see a lot of pink, I'd be like, and if it's like purple and stuff, then I know, okay, I realized like, okay, I have a few hazy days. But what was great about that was it made me realize that sometimes when you're feeling like shit, right? Like you think that it's forever.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you have a depressive day, you'd be like, I've been depressed for months. Actually, just 2 days only,
Yeah.
you know.
So you know it'll
So
pass, right? When you
you
see
know it
it
will pass.
visually. Yeah.
Yeah. And filling it up forces me to check in with myself every
Yeah.
day. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, so anyway for everyone who's tuning in right now, if you have any questions for Narelle, please just type it in below. We will get around to
Yeah,
it when we
okay,
see
we'll do
it.
it later. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, of course, if you have any comments, feel free to share. I'm Sabrina from Calm Collective Asia, and we talk about mental health, and we want to normalize the conversation surrounding mental health in Singapore and Asia, especially in this context that we live in. And we're super happy to have Narelle talking about her own mental health journey as well as self-compassion and how she practices it day to day. Yeah.
That was a great spiel.
Yeah. So, yeah, wow. So, how has okay? So, of course, this question is going to come up. So, how has music played a part in your mental health journey? You know?
Ah, I feel like music makes me really depressed sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Because, but also because it became a job so quickly for me, that at one point I really tied it into, it was what made me feel bad. Um, Not being a good enough musician or singer or this or that, and always being afraid. So over the last year, especially like when I started putting up my own stuff, was kind of me reclaiming that space for myself, and finding my own voice within it. And it was so actually really helpful because when I was kind of at my lowest, I was in this phase. I mean, to me, it lasted like a year or 2 years. Maybe it was 6 months, but it was that I had so many negative thoughts in my head, and I was ignoring so many things that I couldn't think. I really couldn't think. Like you would ask me anything, an opinion on anything or what I was
Yeah.
doing, and I would just stare blankly because it literally felt like there were walls surrounding my entire brain. And I remember thinking like, I'm not like this, you know? I used to be so vocal. I remember like I could write and blog and feel cathartic. I could like sit down and pen my thoughts. And why is it that I'm just so stuck? So
Yeah.
and a lot of it was also like just really like crappy suicidal thoughts. I'd be walking down the street and be like, and in my head it's like throw yourself in front of a bus and smash your face into the window. Ha! You know,
Oh.
it was like, oh, it's
Yeah.
so exhausting.
It sounds easy, but not too easy also. Yeah.
It
No.
was terrible, you know. I mean,
No.
I can talk about it like
No.
now I talk about it with humor because it's a way of
Yeah.
coping, and I feel like I don't want to say this too heavily for other people.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
now that we're on a conversation about mental health, like
Yeah.
it sucked. And I know people that are stuck in that loop, or sometimes like high functioning depressives. That's the
Yeah.
worst because you're just like
Yeah.
pushing
You're
through
able
it.
to exactly. And the
Yeah,
people around you can see it and can help you that way.
exactly. And depression is so good at lying to you and teaching you how to hide it and not talk to people about it. Um,
Yeah.
and no matter how much I know, how much I've read about psychology,
Yeah.
even now when I'm depressed, it's still such a journey to just open my mouth and articulate my thoughts because it is such a strong weight on my head.
Yeah.
But so music at that point in time when I yeah, was so bad.
Yeah.
I put doing this album as the only goal in my head, and it wasn't about like doing a pop album so that I could sell. It wasn't about like making money. It was really just express yourself. That was it.
Yeah.
And I would scour through things like Pinterest or like read a lot of poetry books. And every time I found something that resonated, I will put it down into either like a mood board or a notebook, or I throw it into notes and stuff. And I took all of these random things that I had no idea what they meant, and I went into a writing session. And literally it was the first writing session I had, and we were doing this really like dark, twisted song, and that was where Out of My Head, which is like part one of my album. So
Yeah.
my album is kind of split into three parts. Part one is Purple, and even though there was supposed to be more songs, right now the only song in there is Out of My Head. And even though so at the point when I was doing it, I knew that I didn't want to be dark and angry, but somehow it had to come out. There was this
Yeah.
fire and angst in me that needed to be acknowledged publicly in a song. I didn't know that when I was writing it, but I just knew that I had to do it. So I wrote Out of My Head, and then after that I wrote Blue, which is a song about depression and me accepting that
Yeah.
I'm blue, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I also had no idea that I wanted to write that. I just, that one, I mean, I have told this story before, but it was literally like I went into the session and I was feeling so bad that day. I was fighting with my boyfriend the entire night. And I walked in, I, w- I was already late. And also I burst into tears like that. And I had to be like, I'm so sorry, give me another 20 minutes while I go and calm myself. So I
Yeah.
calmed myself down and I walked back in and I was like, you are such a fucking shithead.
Mm.
How you're so unprofessional. You can't pull it together. You can't control your emotions. Why can't you just get out a damn song? You're not good enough to do this. Like, you're kidding yourself, blah, blah, blah. And it was horrible. And then they started playing this guitar loop. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, sorry, I already know I spent 20 minutes crying, but can you give me another 20 minutes? Because I really just somehow need to pen something out right now.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
where I wrote Blue. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then after that, I felt better
Wow.
and I started writing some happy songs. And so I had this collection of things that I had put in that were pieces from my mood board. I had no idea what they meant.
Yeah.
But when I came back to Singapore, like I looked at them and I realized that they fell into these three parts. And these three parts were actually my emotions. And that's actually what spurred my mood calendar. It was like, oh, I thought I wasn't feeling anything, but these are at least three emotions that stick out so much to me. One is anger, one is sadness, and the last one was fight. And only after, so the last part is orange, and that's where it's kind of like a bit cynical. And it's like I'm gonna pick myself up and move on.
Right.
And it was only when I looked at those songs that I realized, like, hey, girl, you got some fight in you. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I thought I
Yeah.
was depressed and angry and a terrible person, but when I looked at it,
Yeah.
I was like, no, this is you. You're capable of doing this. And I felt at first really terrible about like having all these different genres like put together, but in the end of the day, like I stand by it and I love it
And
because
that's you.
it meant
Yeah.
so much to me, you know, like
Yeah.
it was such a journey to take. And yeah, sorry, I blabbed on about that for a bit,
No,
but
don't be sorry. It's just
I really
yeah,
feel a lot for it. Yeah.
that's great. I really appreciate that you're sharing this with us, and it's really good to, to hear about, how you've been able to identify all those emotions and kind of just purge it, just get it all out there, through
So
your
that's really
music.
important. I
Yeah.
think like especially if you're going through something and sometimes we might be fine. You might think that you're fine. And you usually are. You are totally functional. You can talk to people, you can smile, you can order food, you can go to work. But when that depression is like kind of in your stomach, right? Like it tells you something is not right. Like I'm not, even though my friends are here, I can't seem to connect with them. Like I don't know how I feel. When I'm smiling, am I truly smiling? And if you have any of these thoughts, it's a good time to sit down and maybe journal a little bit and try your best to identify. Don't force it because you can't be like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to figure this out. It doesn't work that
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
It's just more of like attuning your head to your voice. Like if let's say you're in a conversation with someone and you start feeling really, really bad, it probably is because there's something the person is saying that is throwing you off. You know, maybe like now they're talking about all the great things that they're doing, or like that
Yeah.
you are not working hard enough. Maybe you should start planning for your BTO, blah blah. And all these things are in your stomach making you feel worse. But maybe on the outside you're like, yeah, I should. And in your head you're like, damn girl, you better get on that. But in your stomach it's like, maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I'm scared. If you're scared, that's fine. Everybody is scared. Like
Yeah.
then calm yourself and be like, okay,
Yeah.
if I have to face this, how can I face this? Do I need help? Should I ask for help? Can I ask for help? If I can't ask for help, how do I learn to ask for help?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's why we're talking about this. Yeah, there's so many ways that you can get like find help, right? I mean, journaling is one, as you mentioned, but also like going to a professional, like a therapist or even a psychiatrist to talk about these things really helps. So I think
Yeah.
one thing that we we should have maybe said a bit earlier was so neither of us, neither Narelle or myself, are like professionals. We're just really talking about our own mental health experiences and talking about mental health in general. So if any one of you tuning in is facing, say, a crisis personally, or if you know someone who needs help for their own mental health issues, it's always a good idea to find a therapist, or you can even call a helpline, and that is actually free help. So you can call like SOS, you can call SAMH, Singapore Association for Mental Health, and there's a lot of other organizations as well that are actively doing a lot of their own initiatives to help people for their mental health. So I think, yeah. So I think
And
Narelle, yeah.
also,
Hang on.
yeah,
Go
in
ahead.
general, I do keep my DMs pretty open to especially like issues of mental health. And I know some of you here have texted me extensively in there. I mean, obviously, don't spam me about like every day, but like whenever, if you're really ever feeling suicidal and you really feel like you don't know where else to go, please just DM
Yeah.
me. Just do
I
it.
mean,
Like, okay, don't feel bad about it. Okay, just
uh,
just DM me if you need help, and like I will
yeah.
try my best always to reply. And I usually do. I usually reply every single mental health like question in my DMs. I
A-
try.
And
Um,
yeah, I know I totally get you, Narelle. Like, so
yeah,
like, yeah, personally for me, I shared my story about mental health, and then I had a lot of DMs as well about mental health in general, and I was like, man, it's a lot. It's a lot to take on, yeah.
yeah,
But I think recently I also realized that there's all these like really all these free resources out there that I think we're just not using enough. So I actually had a couple of friends recently call some of the helplines and share with me that they've been really helpful.
that's
Um,
great.
so I mean, I think the first free part of call is always you can check out some helplines. We're going to be sharing some on our Instagram, also on our Facebook and website. So yeah, feel free to follow Calm Collective Asia as well. We have some
Yes,
resources and more talks. And then besides that, I believe there's also a lot of other initiatives that have come up surrounding mental health. So I think in Narelle, you
yes,
mentioned there's a team called Team Dinosaur that's been
okay.
that's been working on
So
something.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So Team Dinosaur is a youth-led group that their social
Yeah.
cause is mental health, and they are trying to raise funds for SAMH. Um, so okay, where should I start first? Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
where are we gonna link their
I
fundraiser?
am gonna
Link it.
let me see.
Okay.
Dinosaur.
So,
I
I
want
mean, for those who can consider supporting like organizations that are working towards mental health, because it means that they can further the conversation, they can, just basically do more work and get more people more help. And there's a lot of like branches that go on within it. It's not easy to maintain these kind of organizations, so do support when you can. Also, I'm supposed to shout out YFC, which is Youth for Cause, which is actually where Team Dinosaur comes out from. Youth for Cause is a city and YMCA initiative. And so if, let's say, any one of y'all like feel the need or want to learn how to stand for social causes or get more involved with advocacy. It's a yearly thing, if I'm not wrong. You can go check out their website, youthforcauses.com. And what they do is they basically help you develop entrepreneurial skills. They provide training and mentorships for youth to learn how to champion social causes. And I find when you take part in these kind of like organizations, what you will find is that you will surround yourself with people who actually care, and you will learn a lot more. And honestly, giving back and being involved in the community gives us a bigger sense of purpose.
yeah.
It makes you realize that you're not alone. And it's something that I've been trying to learn how to get a bit more involved in as well. So,
Yeah.
if any of y'all want to do it, please go and do it.
Yes.
Yeah,
Go support
support.
them. Go put in
Yeah.
some. So I know that everyone 21 and above received some money in the past few days, so you can like put some money there as well. Um, and yeah, and you can also follow us, Come Collective Asia, for more talks. We're gonna have a talk with Amy Cheng Bradshaw this Saturday at 3 p.m. We're going to be talking about how social media affects mental health. So that one will be interesting. I think
That's
Narelle, I
that's
think
a big one.
it's a big one. It's a big one.
A
She
big
actually wrote
one.
her paper on this in school, so
Wow.
that's pretty cool. She's gonna be like she's coming in as an expert on this, kinda. And on Sunday, it's going to be interesting also because we're having a talk about how childhood trauma affects mental health. So heavy. But so that one will be on Zoom webinar. So you can actually just sign up on our website, calmcollective.asia, and that one will be interesting because you will learn a lot about, how different aspects of your life could have been trauma in a way, and also how to help yourself and how to help others deal with that trauma. So that will be interesting. Yeah, Narelle.
Should we get to some questions?
Yeah, I would like to do that. So let me. So
Okay.
the questions didn't really come into the actual questions box, but okay. If anyone is watching right now, if you have any questions, we actually have just type in your questions under the comments, or you can put it in the question icon with a question mark on the right side of the comment box.
Oh, got such thing.
Yeah, I know it's new. It's new. So
I didn't know.
we were just testing this yesterday, and then we were like, hey, there's this person who actually asked this really beautiful question in a nice frame, and we were like, oh, it came from there. So
See.
actually, yeah,
Well, there's some questions in the comments, so we can
there
get to
are,
that.
and I actually have one that I saw that actually happened a couple of times. Do you have any advice on how, as a caretaker for someone with mental health, how can they help the person who's going through depression better? Yeah.
Okay, so I mean,
From your
just
own
a
experience,
disclaimer, yeah, it's tough because everybody requires a little bit of different care.
Yeah.
I think the basis of it is to be extremely empathetic and understanding, especially when they're going through an episode. So what I find is that usually when people are going through an episode, they are probably the worst to be around at that point. And that's usually when people give up, or they think like, if they're not helping themselves, why should I help them? But actually, it's in those moments where you kind of have to be the most caring. And sometimes as a caretaker, it's pretty exhausting because it means that you are constantly giving more than you will receive. But if you are one of those people and you're willing to take that commitment, like, kudos to you and thank you so much. It's not easy. So yeah, when you have to learn how to look out for, I guess, signs. I think it's pretty common that like you don't usually just go like that. It usually is a slow tip and they start to dip, and you will notice things like them retreating, them not responding so much. You can maybe probably see like pretty dazed looks on their faces, and that is a time to kind of jump in and be like, "Hi, what's going on in your brain right now? Let's talk it out." And sometimes, from my personal experience, like I take a little bit of convincing because of the fact that it tells you like it's lying and it's twisting your insides so much. So as a caregiver, try and acknowledge that there's a lot going on in their head that you cannot see, and learn how to help them untangle that. So if you can figure out triggers, you can understand, for example, okay, like, and be very kind when you talk. Please don't talk with any judgment. Recognize that like any issue that they put on the table is valid. Anything that they say is valid because that is how they feel. And for example, if someone talks a lot about, let's say, beauty standards, then you know that, okay, anything that is beauty standard wise will probably be a trigger. So I'm going to address this topic very, very carefully. If we're talking about self-worth, then I, as a caretaker, need to make it my responsibility to learn how to uplift and what works and what doesn't work. And also kind of equip them with the capacity to uplift themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Thanks for sharing that. I think some of that also resonates with me. Oh, there's quite a few. Okay, a couple of questions now. So as you sort that out, I think.
We are charging my
No worries. No worries. I'm just like looking at the questions. Wow. Okay. So there's one question about I'm afraid to go to a psychiatrist because it's difficult to open up wounds. Well, I cannot open up the whole thing.
Yeah, I was also gonna say.
Oh dear.
Oh. Okay, well, can I just address the first part?
Talk about that. Yeah.
I'm
Maybe
sorry.
getting
Happy
comfortable.
girl. If you want to like retype that in the comments so
Yeah,
I
it's a
can see
bit
that, that would
long.
be great.
Mm.
So, okay, I feel that, and that's why I kind of had to be dragged.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe like if it's really scary, maybe it would help to build up a little bit of confidence to go
Mm.
first, or maybe like convince yourself. But it does take a bit of courage and determination. It needs to be something that you tell yourself like, I'm I'm going to do this because I love myself and I want to better myself and I want to live a good life. And so even though it sucks, like I'm going to take this step. And if it's too scary to take alone, then try and find a friend that is willing to take this journey with you. So if like you can tell them like, okay, I really want to do this. Can you please make sure I do this? If I can't book the appointment, can you just go online,
Yeah.
find an appointment, book it, and just drag me there? Like tell me we're going for lunch and just do this to me. Whatever works for you, you know,
Yeah.
because yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you feel like you need to go to a psychiatrist, then I really suggest that you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
It is expensive, but I'm
Yeah.
glad I went once. It was like 200 plus bucks.
Mm-hmm.
I think 300 including medication.
Mm-hmm.
But at least I
Yeah.
knew, you know.
Yeah.
So if it's
Yeah.
gonna be a one-off purchase, if you
I
can buy
think
an
it
iPhone,
helps.
do this for
Yeah. It
yourself.
helps a lot to know what you're going through and have like an expert kind of help diagnose you to give you like
Mm.
a. Sometimes you listen more to like an outsider's perspective than your own friends or your family or to yourself,
But it,
you know?
I mean, it is a
Yeah.
medical professional. So
Mm.
because you go on WebMD, suddenly
Oh,
you're a
yeah, of
mentor.
course. Very different.
Yeah,
Yeah, no.
but having it like detailedly analyzed would help you
Yeah.
figure out like what you can research then and figure out what you can
Mm.
do. Also take it with a pinch of salt because not everybody is correct, but
Mm.
it does help to have some good advice.
For sure. Okay. So there's another one. What are some ways to deal with anxiety? Um, I guess that kind of overlaps a little bit with what we've discussed. But do you have any like quick fix if you are faced with anxiety
For
for
me,
yourself?
yeah. So I try and meditation for me really, really
Mm,
helped because what I do in meditation, I know it's quite intimidating if you've never tried it,
mm,
but in meditation, I try and find a very calm center. So when I first started meditating, I would pretend like I'm in this lift lobby and because that point where you're just waiting for something. And in this lift lobby, I can sit back and observe. So as thoughts fly by, I will see them and I'll be like, oh, that's a thought that I think you're not good enough. Okay. But instead of feeling the emotions, it's just more of an objective view on the situation. And after some time, what I did was in this meditation, I learned how to find a calm center where
mm,
I imagine myself sitting in a storm. And yes, all the things that usually hurt me are just swirling past me. But right now, I'm just going to chill out in the center. I'm going to chill here and look at it as objectively as I can. So learning how to recognize when anxiety pops up is also a very big deal
mm,
because I think we're so used to kind of like living with it that sometimes we don't
mm.
even know when it happens. So firstly is learning how to find that, and then when I feel like I have space, maybe I need to run to a toilet, I'll sit down
Yeah.
and I really just breathe and I try and get back in touch with my breath. So
Mm,
breathe in a deep breath, like think of one color and breathe out another color and
yeah.
just let the emotions go. Hi Liu. Sorry, my friend is on. he's an he's so amazing. He does a lot of work with body positivity as well, and is an amazing, amazing, amazing singer and songwriter. Like incredible.
That's
Okay, go
great.
check him out.
That's great.
Yeah, but yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, like you
Hmm.
said, being able to communicate with your anxieties, like
Yeah.
learning how to recognize what it's saying, and then learning how to tell it, "Thank you for making me aware, but please go away for now because I'm okay."
Yes,
Marie
exactly. I
Kondo.
think acknowledging that it's there. That's I guess the first step.
And and it takes practice,
Hmm.
like it's
Mm-hmm.
not something that you will get right on the first try, but don't give up hope
Mm.
and just keep trying to find it, keep fine tuning what works for you,
Mm-hmm.
and eventually it will work.
Yeah.
Really.
Okay. I think we're coming to the end of our conversation now. I know Instagram will like kick us off after 1 hour, so that's why. So, do you have any final thoughts on mental health and how to manage it better? What's
Mm.
one thing that everyone could pick up easily?
Okay,
to improve
learn
their day to day.
how learn how to separate yourself from negative emotions. Like, it's okay that they exist, they don't need to overcome you. If you're feeling really crappy, learn how to realize that even though there's a crap version of yourself that is not good enough, there's also a version of yourself that's amazing. So put
Mm-hmm.
more attention into that side. And really just imagine a world that you love and the person that you love being in it, and just work like hell to get there, even if that goes against what society says. How to deal with toxic, because I just see it's right there. How do you deal with toxic people in your life?
Okay,
Is
sure.
really, if they need to be cut out, like cut them out,
Yeah.
because these people are not serving you.
No.
And learn how to gravitate to people that have similar, like, not to keep yourself in an echo chamber, but people that really serve you and make you feel good. And when you feel good, you know if you listen to yourself. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. I think it's about drawing our boundaries, being able to say no to things that don't serve us, and saying yes
And
to
just do
things that do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Continue. Yeah.
and do a lot of research, like Google, watch videos, follow a lot of self-help like Instagram, because honestly, it's really good and very useful. It
Yeah.
provides you with the vocabulary to understand how you're feeling,
Yeah.
and knowledge is really key.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my spiel.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Narelle. Okay, so sadly, we have to come to an end here. But if you have, if you have any questions at all, feel free to drop us an email or drop us a DM as well, either Come Collective Asia or Narelle. And feel free to follow our talks coming up this weekend. So, yes, thank you so much,
Thank you,
Narelle.
guys.
And thank you,
Thank
everyone, for
y'all.
tuning in.
So
I'm
now that
Sabrina,
everybody
and
is
that's
still
Narelle,
here,
obviously. And thank you for still being here as well. Still like some 60
can
more
we all
people.
just take like a big breath together? So breathe in, breathe out.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Thank you,
Thanks,
guys.
Narelle. And thank you, everybody. Stay
Bye.
safe. Bye.
Bye.